Hi guys, my name is McKenna and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So this is about the third time I've been trying to film this video because of technical issues, but I think I finally might have gotten it. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, and I'm super excited, and I'm sorry that it's late, but life's been a little hectic recently, so I hope you can forgive me. So the first question in the mid-year book freakout tag is, what is the best book that you have read so far in 2019? The best book I read so far in 2019 is Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett. This is a fantasy novel that is almost set in a westward expansion style, a world in which they are creating steam engines. There's still a Pony Express type of service, and they are just starting to create some things that were started to be created in the westward expansion era. The story follows Kate Brighton, who years ago her father tried to assassinate the king, so she has been labeled Traitor Kate, and now she is trying to live out her life with this kind of target on her back, even though that's a whole factor in her thing, and she's living with illegal wilder magic. She is doing just fine, thank you very much, after a few years of having to live on her own, but then the crown prince, Cordwin, comes back after a few years of being the errant prince after running away when the failed to show up. When these two meet after so many years of being apart, their old romance spark is kind of reignited, and they have to deal with that, as well as the looming threat of the new Daydrakes, which are a dragon type of creature they are described as, without wings, and they're super creepy and they're super dangerous, and it's such an interesting concept for this book. I really loved the world of this book. The westward expansion was just a very unique setting, and I really loved the characters as well, all of them, especially some of the side characters. And the main thing I think that puts this at my current favorite book of 2019 is the fact that it has horses in it quite a bit, and it deals with it in a very respectful manner, as opposed to some other fantasies that just kind of have them in there for the sake of them being a fantasy creature. But nevertheless, Onyx and Ivory by Mindy Arnett is my current favorite of 2019. The second question is, what is your favorite sequel of 2019? My favorite sequel that I've read so far this year is The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson, which is the second book in the Truly Devious series. I read both of these books earlier this year, I think maybe in February and March, somewhere along those lines, but I really enjoyed them, and I ended up giving The Vanishing Stair 5 stars. The characters of this book are really what drive it home for me. I love the individualism of each of them and the diversity of all of them as a whole, how much diversity is put into the story. And even though I'm not a huge mystery person, I really enjoyed the mystery in this book. If you did not know, Truly Devious follows true crime enthusiast Stevie Bell as she is given the chance to attend the elusive Ellingham Academy to study true crime. The reason she really wants to go is because there are murders that had taken place back in the 30s at Ellingham Academy, and she wants to solve the case. This was just a super fun series, and I'm really excited for the third book, The Hand in the Wall, which is coming out in early 2020. I can't wait for it. I'm super excited. Name a new release that you haven't gotten to yet, but you really want to. For this question, I'm going with Lovely War by Julie Berry. I don't know a whole lot about this book, but I know that it deals with, it has two different romances in World War II era, and it's told from Aphrodite's perspective, and that's all I really need to know. I got the audiobook on Audible so I could listen to it, so I would be more apt to read it, but I really want to get to it. I'm pretty sure it came out in 2019 so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty sure it did take place then, so there's that. Question 4, what is your most anticipated release for the rest of 2019? So I don't have a whole lot, or I do have quite a few releases that I'm excited for, but I don't have a lot that I'm super excited for. But I think the two that I'm most excited for are Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell and Supernova by Marissa Meyer. What has been your biggest disappointment so far in 2019? My biggest disappointment so far as book-wise was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. A Darker Shade of Magic was the group book for Fantasy Adventure-a-thon, so I really wanted to read it then. And I didn't even end up finishing it then. I DNF'd it, and then in May I picked it back up because I was 60% of the way through, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish this because I'm a finisher. And so I finished it. I ended up giving it 1 star. I really didn't enjoy it. I thought I was going to. I had really high expectations for it. but they kind of felt pretty short. I don't even really know how to explain this book. I kind of don't remember quite a bit of it, but it's this guy that's like moving through different Londons that correlate to colors. What has been your biggest surprise so far of 2019? My biggest surprise of 2019 so far is actually the book that I most recently finished. I finished it yesterday, and that is Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Tromley. This book is almost a Sherlock Holmes and Watson kind of retelling, but not really, because while Digby, which is kind of the Sherlock character, isn't like heavily the Sherlock character, he does kind of have some of those aspects, but he also has like 2 sidekicks, and I saw in like one of the things that it was a Breakfast Club style group more than it was like Sherlock Holmes and Watson, which is great because I don't really like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. But I ended up giving this book 4 stars. My librarian recommended it to me like a year ago, and I just recently got around to it listening to the audiobook, and I'm really glad that I did. While the characters weren't my favorite part of this story, at least not the 2 main characters, I really liked the mystery in this book and how it was kind of about, because I don't really like mysteries that are really clear cut. I like the ones that are kind of spoofy and out of the water and blown out of proportion, and that's what this one was. And there were just so many really cool aspects of this book that I really enjoyed, and it surprised me because I honestly didn't think I was going to like it that much. But guess what, Miss Hallett? You were right! Who is your newest favorite author, either new to you or debut? So I think my newest favorite author has to be David Elliott, who wrote Bull and Voices, The Final Hours of Joan of Arc. I read these 2. I know he's written some more, but I'm not really interested in his like more picture books. I want to read more of his verse, obscure historical books. I liked Bull a lot more than I liked Voices, which I talk about in, I think my April wrap-up is when I read both of them, which I will link down below if you want to hear more on that. But I really, really enjoyed Bull, and I listened to both of them on audiobook, and I really, like I said, enjoyed both of them. Even though I didn't really rate Voices that high, I did enjoy my reading. But I am super excited to see what his next historical topic is going to be and what that's gonna turn out like, so I'm excited. Who is your newest fictional crush? I think my newest fictional crush that actually stuck throughout the year is Elias from An Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. He is just a big teddy bear, and like that is so cute to me. I really love the teddy bear type of character, especially because he's like big and burly and brawny and like this trained killing soldier, and he just wants like happiness, and he doesn't want to have to kill. He just wants a good life, and I just really like his character, and he is pretty swoony, and I'm excited to see what happens with him in A Reaper at the Gates and the 4th book, which is coming out next year. Who is your newest favorite character? So this is kind of an obscure answer, and some people might say you can't claim her as a character because she's a historical figure, but guess what? I can. My new favorite character is Catherine Howard, which is obviously Henry VIII's 5th wife, but you know her, or I know her at least, from 6 the Musical and Fatal Throne. When I listened to 6 for the first time, I'm gonna talk about 6 a little bit here. So if you haven't listened to 6 the Musical, like, what are you doing with your life? I will link the whole playlist down below. Please go listen to it. It is amazing. And Amy Atkinson is my Catherine Howard, and I tried to do my like hair and makeup and kind of outfit like her hair, makeup, and outfit. I know I didn't do great because I don't have the same things and like makeup artists and stuff that she does, but I tried to replicate it, okay? Anyway, I'm gonna go on a little tangent about 6 first. So Alex introduced me. If you don't know Alex, she's one of my friends. She's been in a lot of my videos. She introduced me to 6 on the way home. I was driving and she put it on and we just listened to it all in order, and Catherine Howard's song All You Wanna Do, made me cry the first time I heard it, and it was just so amazing. I loved her song and I kept listening to it. as well as the rest of the album, but she remained to be my favorite. And then I read Fatal Thrones by like this gaggle of authors where each of them wrote a different one of Henry VIII's wives, and I loved her story more than any of the other ones. I don't know if it's because she was very young and like that's what impressions on me, because I was just about her age when she had to get married to him and everything. I think it is her age that I have so much respect and love for her, is that she was my age when she had to get married to the king, and she did what she had to do, and it didn't end up being good enough, but it was the best that she could do, which is so sad, but I just love her story. I love her in 6 and I love her in Fatal Thrones, and I think you should listen to 6 and read Fatal Thrones, The Wives of Henry VIII Tell-All. What is a book that made you cry? So a book that made me cry this year, probably the only book that made me cry this year, was King of Fools by Amanda Foody. And I can't talk about why this made me cry without talking about spoilers, so I'm gonna throw the cover up on the screen here, and as long as it's up here, if you haven't read King of Fools, mute the stream because I'm going to spoil it for you. I cried over Jack's death in this book because he was my absolute favorite character. I don't remember how I felt in book 1, but definitely in this book, I really didn't care about Levi or N's stories at all. I just cared about Jack, and I was like the biggest advocate for the fact that he is getting over this addiction and he is trying to bring down the whole like hierarchy that brought him to this addiction, and he like found love, and he was doing this for his friend as well as for himself, and like he was beating the addiction, he beat the bad guy that he needed to beat, and like everything was going good. He had finally made up with Levi, but then N just had to go and do that shit, and I fucking hate N now. By the way, I didn't really like her before, but I fucking hate her now. So that's why I cried at King of Fools. The next question is, name a book that made you happy. I think the book that possibly made me the happiest this year was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This didn't really make me happy for the reason that most people, I think it made them happy, which was the politics in this book, because I didn't particularly care about the politics in this book. I'm not a huge like political person. That's not my forte. Like, politics, not my thing. But I really enjoyed kind of reading them in this, just to see a little bit of what, like, dabbling in them a little bit. But the thing that really made me happy in this book, on top of the romance, was the, like, relationships between all the people. Not just between Alex and Henry, but between Alex and June, and Alex and Nora, and Henry and Bea, and Henry and Pez, and, like, Pez and June, and just... I loved all of the, like, friendships and relationships in this book, and it was just, it makes me so happy every time, and there's just so much humor and so much cute moments that, like, I read it twice already this year, and I couldn't stop smiling, like, most of the time that I was reading it both times, and I just really appreciate that, and I really, really enjoyed this book. What is the most beautiful book that you have received in 2019 so far? The most beautiful book that I have so far received in 2019 is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I actually did a video featuring this book. I did a Bookish Makeup Monday, which I will link down below. But this is an absolutely gorgeous book, like on the dust jacket and under the dust jacket. Like, this is just a gorgeous book. In fact, the cover was actually one of the main things that got me interested in this book, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, yes. But if you didn't know about With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, what are you doing with your life? A. B. It is about the main character, Amani, who is going into her senior year after being pregnant her freshman year and now raising that child. She, like I said, is raising her child, and now there is a culinary class that is being offered, and since her love is cooking, she decides to take it. This just kind of follows Imani throughout her senior year with a child as a teen mother, having to deal with her baby's father, having to deal with new love, like what is she going to do next, all of those types of things, and it was just so good, and I really, really loved it. It is definitely one of my favorites of the year so far, and if you want to know more of my like concrete thoughts, do please watch that video. But I just loved it so much, and it is so beautiful. And finally, what are some books that you want to get to by the end of the year? So I think currently my main two that I want to get to by the end of the year are Shadow and Flame by Mindy Arnett and A Reaper at the Gates by Sabathir, which Shadow and Flame is the second book in the Rhyme Chronicles duology, and A Reaper at the Gates is the third book in the An Ember in the Ashes series. And I think now that I finished Trouble is a Friend of Mine, I've written my answers to these questions before, but now that I've read Trouble is a Friend of Mine, I think I want to read books 2 and 3 by the end of the year, which are offered on Scribd, so I should be able to do that. And, you know, I just have a lot of books that I want to finish by the end of the year, but, like, I can't make this that long, so those are just a few. Those are just, like, my main ones. That is it for the mid-year book freakout tag. Let me know down in the comments below all of your answers to this tag. If you, like, agree with any of my answers, if you've read any of these books, if you've read any of those books this year, all of those deets, let me know, comment down below, have a conversation with me, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you sometime for a new one. Bye!